What's up YouTube? Felipe Retta here. I just hit AR 40 a few days ago and I wanted to do a quick video letting you guys know about the 5 things that I wish I knew before hitting AR 40. Now this is going to be most useful to you people that are around like AR 10 to 30, right? To really start saving up and doing the right things to prepare for world level 5 and beyond, where the difficulty does spike. So with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing I wish I would have known before hitting AR 40 is that I should have focused on 2 DPS characters of differing elements. Now let me explain a little bit about that. So a lot of people talk about team composition in this game as needing a DPS or a carry, right? A main DPS, and then somebody that complements them elementally, right? Like maybe like somebody that can build reactions off of, then a healer, and you know, all of these other different roles that exist in a party. And that's true when you're higher level and you have the resources to allocate. But when you're first starting the game and you're climbing, the first, like, I guess kind of difficulty you're gonna meet is gonna be an abyss, which is when you're gonna have to split into 2 separate teams. And for that, you're going to need 2 different damage dealers. Without that, you're not gonna get by. So why differing elements? This is why. So if you're just starting out and you have an Electro and a Pyro, right? And they're both damage dealer, and you build them both to be damage dealer, they're going to complement each other very nicely. When you fight the Pyro boss, you can use the Electro. When you fight the Electro boss, you can use the Pyro, right? And they'll be able to complement themselves in the earlier levels of Abyss. So instead of focusing on elemental mastery and all of these things that you probably don't understand fully at a lower level, I find it to be better to focus on 2 main DPS characters. That way, once you get to that point in Abyss, you can swap them, right? Put your Electro here, your Pyro here, and build teams off of them. That's when you'll worry about elemental mastery. That's when you'll worry about reactions. That's when all of those things are going to come into play, because prior to Abyss getting that difficult, it's just not necessary to have those, you know, like the perfect team composition. So at earlier levels, I really wish I would have focused on 2 damage dealers. Instead, what ended up happening with me is my resources got spread out across too many characters, and it's been more difficult building up the characters that I want that make sense to have at an earlier level. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I wish I managed my resources better. And this is in relation to 3 things. 1 is weapon materials, 2 is ascension materials, and 3 is Mora. An emphasis on Mora, because Mora becomes one of the biggest bottlenecks in the game post AR 40. When you're leveling up your characters, let me show you here, right? So when we're talking ascension, so I have my Kaching here at level 77, right? Dude, I don't even have any cards. But as you're leveling it up, you're spending Mora for every card you apply to your character. This gets so ridiculously expensive that you end up having none of it later on in game. And just to show you guys, I have 223,000, and that's after completing an achievement just now that gave me 200,000. So like Mora, the second is weapon ascension materials. And as you're leveling up in the game, you're gonna find bosses, right? And these bosses are going to give you certain materials. They're going to give you these ley line things. They're going to give you these slime concentrates. The issue is, as you get higher level, you need such an insane amount of these things that you end up having to grind bosses on a daily basis to build this up. So what ends up happening to a lot of people that build different characters is these resources get spread out too thin. They don't manage those resources properly. Whereas if you do your research and you find out, all right, you know, this sword is a good sword for Kaching, which honestly in this case the flute isn't the best sword for Kaching, but I had so many resources allocated to it that I just had to kind of stick with it, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get another weapon up that high. Another example for me right here is the Crescent Pike, which is an amazing weapon for Xiangling. Look at this. I have deathmatch at level 70. What a waste. Right now, I can't apply this death march to this, but it made it to where this weapon took a bit longer for me to get to max level. So all of these resources you're getting, make sure you're allocating them to good places. Make sure the heroes you're using have the weapons that you want them to have, so you're not wasting resources. And the same goes for ascension. If you're ascending your characters, right? Well, it's literally the same exact thing. Hold on. Right here, look at this. Look at this. I need 24 energy nectars that I'm gonna need to get her to AR90 to our final ascension. 60 core lapis, right? Like all of these resources, save them up and spend them in the right places in order to do better once you hit to 40. Ideally, you want to have your characters pre-prepped so that the second you hit, for instance, AR40, you can get your characters up to level 80, your 2 main characters, and go from there. Number three, I wish I'd been smarter with my wishes. I wish I understood the wish system a little bit better. And this is something I talk about on stream a lot, guys. I spend a lot of wishes on my standard, right? And every time I got wishes, I dumped them and dumped them and dumped them. And as a result, I have a ton of characters with different constellations. Look at my characters here, you'll notice, you know, like for Xiangling, I have 3 on her constellation. Her, I have her maxed out, which is awesome. Chongyun, I have 1. This guy, I have 1. Razor, I have 1, right? Her, I have 4, but I don't have her maxed out. Her, I have 4. And like, you know, that's a Traveler. Ningguang, I have 3. All of this came as a result of me just putting my wishes in way too many places. Now, Fischl's great because I have her maxed out, but ideally what you want to do is find out which heroes you want, and you want to wait for the event banners that has those heroes. And 4 stars are easy. 4 stars are way easier to focus on than 5 stars. You can get them a lot higher because you drop them every 10 wishes. So ideally, you want to save up your wishes, wait till one of the heroes that you want at max constellation comes out, and then dump all of your wishes into that banner. Also make sure the 5 star is something that you want. But managing your wishes and how you spend them is very important. Understanding how it carries over, which you can go watch videos on that, is very important as well. And I do wish I would have managed. I've put, you know, over 200 wishes into this game. And I do wish I would have managed them a lot better. I have an addiction, dude. The fourth thing I wish I knew before AR40 is to focus on my talents. This is huge. And a lot of people don't understand. This is one of the quickest ways to increase the amount of damage your characters do. And it scales so heavily, but it's very expensive, right? It costs books and it costs monster materials. Because of this, if you are spending these materials in places that they shouldn't be, this goes back to resource management, you're going to bottleneck, right? Like right now, the max I could have her talents at, I believe, I want to say is either 6 or 8. I think it's 8 right now, but I have them at 4 because I haven't been grinding books since a low level. I should have been, but I didn't know about them. And a lot of people don't, right? Because whenever you have like a little, you know, a level, let's see, a level 40 character, you go to talents, right? And you can't level them up because you need Ascension Phase 2 to level them up. So you don't even think about that. But later on in game, if you can focus your 2 main damage dealers, focus on their talents, get those talents up as high as you can, it will make a world of difference in how much damage you do. So yeah, like look at your talents of your 2 main DPS and you know, level them up. And last but not least, and this one's a little bit different, right? And this isn't, I don't think, something that a lot of people are going to know before AR40 or fully understand, is team composition. And when you look online, you see hundreds of different people telling you like hundreds of different things about team composition. And there's a lot of things to understand, and honestly that could be a video of its own, and there's still a lot of things I don't understand because the math can get pretty intricate. But building your team to work with each other, building your team off of a single character is probably the most important thing you're going to do. All right. And what does this mean? So you have your 2 main damage dealers that we talked about earlier. Mine happen to be Xiangling and Keqing, right? And for most of the game, they're going to be in a party together, right? You're gonna level with them together. Leveling's gonna be easy, but at some point you're gonna get into a high abyss level and you're gonna need to separate them. And at that point, you need to start thinking about team composition. So what would you need? Like, let's look at Keqing, for instance, and you have to figure this out for yourself, but it's something that I wish I was researching prior to AR40 so that I could have allocated resources to the right characters. So let's look at my party setup, and I'm gonna explain how my team composition works for my Keqing's main party. So this is Keqing's main party. This is what I use in Abyss, right? I'm gonna have Keqing And Fischl is what's called a sub carry, meaning she's a carry, but she's not my main damage dealer, right? Then we have this guy, which for me, this is called my trigger. You're gonna hear tons of different names from him. He's the one that triggers elemental reactions, so I max him out with elemental mastery. Venti, all Venti does is bring people together so that I can just mass DPS them and get them all out of the way. Obviously, this is built towards groups of monsters, not single target enemies, which is going to change, but it's a good team composition. Why? Because Keqing and Fischl are both electric, which means I get this elemental resonance, which gets me more lightning resonance, more electro resonance for both characters, meaning Keqing's ultimate is up before its cooldown even ends. So I can just spam Keqing's Q ability, which is insane damage, right? So because I have so much lightning on the field with Fischl's Crow and Keqing's like just massive amount of electric damage, I want a character that can use a reaction off of that. In this case, I'm using Overload with Homeboy. Homeboy here has a Q ability that sets a field of fire that creates reactions. So by specking him to pure elemental mastery, since he is triggering the reaction, he's the one with elemental mastery that matters, that's going to do insane amounts of damage. And then Venti, like I said, he has a Q ability that brings everyone together. This is team composition, and it's all based off Keqing, right? Now, why didn't I use Venti on my third team, right? I have my third team here that's based off of Xiangling. Why am I not using Venti here? Right? I'm not using Venti here because Xiangling's Q ability actually cannot hit Venti unless you were to climb on top of something. So when Venti pulls everyone else in together, it can't. However, the Traveler, his tornado sucks in her panda dude. So it's really good synergy. And those are, for me, the 5 main things that I wish I knew before AR40. If you are AR40, please tell me in the comments below if I missed anything, if there's anything important to you guys. And if you have any questions, leave them down below as well. Come hang out with us at twitch.tv/FelipeReda. It's always a good time over here. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.